In Denmark, 91% of couples meet through mutual friends or work. In India, 88% of marriages are still arranged by families. And in Japan, 1 in 4 men say they've given up on relationships entirely. Where you're born determines who you'll love, how you'll meet them, and whether you'll meet them at all. This is the map no one talks about. The invisible borders that decide your romantic fate before you even swipe right. And in 2025, the gap between the best and worst countries for finding love has never been wider. Before we dive deeper, hit that subscribe button. This channel exposes the systems shaping our world that no one else will talk about. You don't want to miss what's coming. The global dating crisis didn't start with apps. It started with economics. Between 2010 and 2025, the average age of first marriage rose by 7 years across developed nations. In South Korea, it's now 34 for men, 31 for women. In Italy, 36 and 33. The numbers keep climbing. This isn't about choice. It's about survival. When housing costs consume 60% of young adults' income in cities like Sydney, London, and Toronto, dating becomes a luxury. When career instability defines your 20s, commitment feels impossible. When student debt averages $50,000 in the United States, romance competes with rent. The countries where love thrives have solved these problems. The countries where it's dying haven't. But there's something else happening. Something more subtle. Denmark ranks first in the 2025 Global Dating Satisfaction Index. Not because Danes are more attractive or charming. Because their system makes connection inevitable. Work-life balance is mandated by law. The average Danish employee leaves the office at 4 p.m. Social spaces are designed for interaction, not isolation. Public parks host free community events weekly. Sports clubs, hobby groups, and cultural centers receive government funding. Meeting people isn't an app function. It's a structural feature of daily life. Compare this to Japan, where the average worker logs 60-hour weeks. Where after-work drinking culture replaces genuine social connection. Where 40% of people under 30 report having no close friends outside their family. The architecture of loneliness is built into the schedule. In Denmark, dating costs are manageable. Affordable cafés, free museum days, subsidized cultural activities. A first date doesn't require a credit card limit increase. In the United States, the average date costs $100 in major cities. Dinner, drinks, transportation. 3 dates is $300. That's groceries for 2 weeks. Romance becomes transactional when survival is expensive. Sweden, Norway, and the Netherlands follow Denmark in the rankings. The pattern is obvious. Strong social safety nets. Free or low-cost education. Affordable healthcare. Housing policies that prevent market speculation. Parental leave that doesn't bankrupt families. These countries haven't gamified dating. They've removed the barriers that make it impossible. But even within winning countries, there are losers. Stockholm has a 65% male surplus in the tech sector. Oslo's finance district reports similar imbalances. Amsterdam's startup scene is 70% male. Industry clustering creates romantic deserts in otherwise fertile ground. And the data shows something darker. The worst countries for finding love in 2025 share 3 characteristics. Extreme gender ratio imbalances, economic instability, and cultural systems that limit interaction between unmarried adults. China sits near the bottom. 30 million more men than women. The result of decades of one-child policy and gender-selective practices. In rural provinces, the ratio hits 130 men per 100 women. The numbers make marriage mathematically impossible for millions. But it's not just China. India faces a similar crisis. 18 million surplus men by 2030. Villages where entire male generations will never marry. Cities where dowry demands have become extortion. In Qatar and UAE, migrant worker populations skew 75% male. These men spend years, sometimes decades, in countries where dating outside marriage is criminally prosecuted. Love becomes illegal. If you're still watching, you're in the 8% who care about understanding the systems controlling our lives. Subscribe now. Drop a comment below about dating culture where you live. Let's build a community that sees what others ignore. ***. South Korea's crisis is different. Self-inflicted. The country's fertility rate hit 0.72 in 2024, the lowest in human history. And it's not because Koreans don't want relationships. It's because the cost is unbearable. South Korean dating culture demands financial performance. Men are expected to own property before marriage. The average apartment in Seoul costs 19 times the median annual income. Women face impossible choices: continue careers and be labeled selfish, or sacrifice professional identity for motherhood in a culture that offers minimal support. The result is 4B, a growing movement of young women choosing to opt out entirely. No dating, no sex, no marriage, no children. It's not rebellion. It's rational response to a broken system. And the government's solution reveals how little they understand. Cash bonuses for babies, dating subsidies, public funding for matchmaking services. They're treating symptoms while the disease spreads. Because the disease isn't individual choice. It's structural inequality dressed as personal failure. The United States occupies the middle ground. Not the worst, but declining fast. American dating has become a gig economy. Swipe workers performing emotional labor for the possibility of connection. The average user spends 90 minutes daily on dating apps. That's 547 hours per year. Nearly 23 days of your life. Scrolling. The return on investment is brutal. Men receive responses to 1.4% of messages. Women receive 200+ messages weekly, most copy-pasted or explicitly sexual. It's a marketplace with too much supply and infinite demand. And like all broken markets, it benefits those who can pay. Premium subscriptions, profile consultants, professional photographers, AI-generated opening lines. Dating becomes another sector where wealth buys outcomes. But even money can't solve geography. Rural America is emptying. Young people flee to cities for work, education, opportunity. What remains are aging populations and gender imbalances that mirror China's rural provinces. In counties across Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas, men outnumber women 120 to 100. The women who leave for college rarely return. Urban America has the opposite problem. Cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Boston report female majorities in the 22 to 35 age bracket. But majority doesn't mean advantage. Because urban dating markets suffer from paradox of choice. Infinite options create decision paralysis. The next swipe might be better. The next date might be perfect. So nothing is ever good enough. Psychologists call it maximizing behavior. Economists call it inefficient market clearing. Everyone else calls it being single forever. The best countries solve this through what sociologists call structured serendipity. Switzerland mandates national service. Military for men, civil service for women, or alternative service for conscientious objectors. Young adults spend 18 months in shared purpose with people outside their economic bubble. Relationships form naturally. Finland's education system mixes socioeconomic classes in schools. No private academies for the wealthy. No underfunded institutions for the poor. Children grow up alongside their entire community. They don't need apps to meet people. They already know them. Iceland is a nation of 380,000 people. Everyone is connected within 3 degrees. Dating someone means their ex is your co-worker's roommate's cousin. It should be a nightmare. Instead, it creates accountability. Because when you can't disappear into anonymity, you treat people like people. The worst countries do the opposite. Saudi Arabia legally segregates unmarried adults. Gender-separated education through university. Workplaces divided by sex. Public spaces policed by religious authorities. Meeting someone of the opposite sex without family oversight is a criminal act. The official solution is family-arranged marriage. The unofficial reality is underground dating culture conducted through encrypted apps and secret meetings. Love becomes rebellion. Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran enforce similar systems. Legal frameworks built on controlling women's autonomy through marriage restrictions. The ranking isn't just about difficulty finding love. It's about whether finding love could get you killed. Because honor killings, forced marriages, and legal persecution aren't historical problems. They're happening now. In 2025, a woman in Pakistan was murdered by her family last month for refusing an arranged marriage. A man in Iran faces execution for a relationship with someone outside his religion. This is the cost of love in the wrong country. But even liberal democracies are creating new barriers. The United Kingdom faces what researchers call the proximity crisis. Young professionals move for work every 2 to 3 years. London's population turns over 30% every 5 years. You meet someone, build connection, and one of you relocates. Long-distance relationships require emotional resources most people don't have, so they don't begin, or they end prematurely. Career mobility kills romance. Australia's mining and agricultural sectors compound this. Fly-in fly-out workers spend 2 weeks on site, 1 week home. Relationship formation is structurally impossible. Canada's housing crisis has adults living with parents into their 30s. Dating someone means navigating their family's schedule. Privacy becomes a luxury. France has avoided some of these problems through aggressive rent control and social housing. But Parisian dating culture has its own pathology. The expectation of casual affairs. The normalization of infidelity. Commitment phobia disguised as sophistication. Different barriers. Same result. The algorithm is keeping this information from spreading. Subscribe now if you want to keep seeing content that reveals uncomfortable truths. Hit that bell icon. Share this with someone who needs to understand what's really happening. Eastern Europe presents a unique case. Poland, Czech Republic, and Hungary rank mid-tier. Traditional gender roles still dominate. Men expected to pursue aggressively. Women expected to be selective. But economic development has created tension. Women are now equally educated and often out-earn men in urban areas. The old scripts don't fit the new reality. The result is a generation caught between tradition and modernity. Neither side knows the rules anymore. Russia's crisis is demographic. Decades of alcoholism, industrial accidents, and now war have created severe male shortages in certain age brackets. Women in their 30s outnumber men 120 to 100. But cultural expectations still require women to marry older men. The math doesn't work. Brazil ranks surprisingly high despite economic instability. The answer is cultural. Brazilian social life centers on group activities. Beach culture, street parties, community festivals. Meeting people is passive, not active. You don't seek connection. You're surrounded by it constantly. Dating in Brazil has pressure, but not scarcity. Compare this to Germany, where social rigidity makes new connections difficult after university. Adult friendships are rare. Dating pools shrink to workplace and occasional social events. Germans report high life satisfaction, but widespread loneliness. You can be successful and stable and still unable to meet anyone. The Philippines ranks mid-tier for an unexpected reason. High immigration rates. 1 in 10 Filipinos works abroad. This creates distance relationships by default, but also global social networks. Filipino workers in Dubai date through video calls with people in Manila. Nurses in London maintain relationships with teachers in Cebu. Long distance is normalized. So is eventual reunion. The system works until it doesn't. Because years of separation change people. Mexico faces cartel violence that restricts movement in certain regions. Young adults in affected areas can't travel freely to other cities for education or social opportunities. Dating pools become dangerously small. And leaving your neighborhood for a date can be fatal. Romance requires peace. Argentina's economic instability has created what locals call relationship inflation. The cost of maintaining a relationship rises faster than wages. Couples delay marriage indefinitely, not because they don't want to commit, because they can't afford the wedding their families expect. And in cultures where family approval is mandatory, informal relationships lack legitimacy. You're together, but not really. The data reveals something no one expected. The best countries for finding love aren't the most romantic. They're the most boring. Stable economies, predictable social structures, low inequality, strong community institutions. The worst countries are exciting, dynamic, rapidly changing, full of opportunity and chaos. Because chaos is terrible for relationships. You can't build connection when you're fighting to survive. And that's the pattern across every ranking. Economic stability predicts romantic success better than culture, language, or dating customs. Poor countries with strong safety nets outperform rich countries with weak ones. Singapore ranks higher than the United States. Portugal ranks higher than Japan. Uruguay ranks higher than South Korea. Because having less money but more security beats having more money but no stability. The future looks worse. Climate migration will create new gender imbalances as men disproportionately move for industrial work. Rising inequality will make dating economically prohibitive for larger populations. Digital culture will continue atomizing human connection. But some countries are trying to reverse the trend. Estonia offers free public transportation to increase spontaneous social interaction. New Zealand has banned exploitative housing speculation to make cities affordable for young families. Spain reduced its work week to 35 hours to give people time for relationships. These aren't dating policies. They're life policies. Because you can't fix dating without fixing everything else. The crisis isn't that people don't know how to connect. It's that the systems we've built make connection impossible. And the countries succeeding in 2025 aren't the ones with better dating apps. They're the ones brave enough to admit that love requires more than individual effort. It requires a society designed for human flourishing. This is the reality they don't want you thinking about. Subscribe if you want more investigations into the systems controlling our lives. Share this everywhere. Comment below with your experience. And watch the next video that YouTube is trying to hide from your feed. ***. The geography of heartbreak is expanding. Every year, more countries join the crisis. Fewer solve it. And millions of people will live and die without ever experiencing what previous generations took for granted. Not because they're unlovable, but because they were born in the wrong place. On the wrong side of invisible borders drawn by economics, culture, and policy. The map of love in 2025 is really a map of inequality. And unless something changes, the lonely countries will only get lonelier, while the connected ones pull further ahead. This isn't the future anyone wanted, but it's the one we're building. One policy at a time, one city at a time, one generation at a time. The question isn't whether you can find love. It's whether your country will let you.